Again, shake of hands, and Gukesh opens with 1 e4. What will Arjun play next here? Will he go for the Sicilian? Will he go all out? No, he decides to be solid. He plays his pawn to e5. Knight comes out to f3. And Arjun plays his knight to f6. Gukesh takes, knight takes e5. We have the Petrov defense on the board, and this is quite a surprise from an opening decision by Arjun, but maybe he just wants to be solid today. d6 attacking the knight. Now getting back your knight to f3 is the main line, but Gukesh brings his knight to c4. He's going for something a little offbeat. Could be his World Championship prep, especially because when Ding played the French defense, it was transposing into the Petrov. Queen e2 played, pinning the knight here. You have to unpin. And Queen e7 played here by Arjun, breaking the pin. And now the knight comes back to e3. So, in a way, you have avoided the trade of knights. The knight goes back to f6. Let's see how Gukesh continues now. He goes knight to c3. He's looking at the d5 square with both his knights trying to attack the queen, trying to pressurize the c7 point. And he gets up. Arjun plays knight bishop e6 after quite some thought. So Arjun may be getting out of his prep here, but it's an interesting position. Now g3 played. So bishop wants to come to g2. I would imagine that you could put your pawn on c6, but then where will be the b8 knight going? So knight c6 is what Arjun prefers. He gets his knight out, and bishop g2. The bishop is on this long diagonal. I already see potential in white's position, but black is developing pretty quickly. Plays queen d7, very important move, because queen b5 was a big threat, attacking b7 and also c6. So that's a good move there. And the players are following the game between Richard Rapport with the white pieces and Wei. Short castle here. And he goes long castle. Whew! This is going to get exciting. And Gukesh instantly plays b4, showing that he's prepped. You have Vincent Keimer. Gukesh is second, looking there. Tie-dye one, waiting. No get back move. The game is getting so exciting. Arjun decides to not take the pawn, pushes this pawn to d5. But now this pawn is attacked by both the bishop and knight. So Gukesh clearly is going to push the pawn forward. He pushes b5. And now the game between Wei, Richard Rapport and Wei went knight d4, attacking the queen here. Let's see what Arjun does. Arjun plays his knight to a5. He prefers to put his knight on the side of the board. And Gukesh seems to be doing well now. The most important thing is to avoid black from pushing the pawn. So Gukesh pushes his own pawn forward, blocking the black pawn. d4 on the board. And now bishop h3. Here comes an important moment in the game. Gukesh can play bishop f3, an truly incredible move. Giving up an exchange, putting the queen here, putting pressure on d5, and white is better. But instead Gukesh prefers to take the bishop. Maybe not the best decision here, but bishop f3 was such an incredible move. It just goes to show that chess is so rich. You can sacrifice an exchange just like that. Now Arjun takes, and the queen is notoriously close to the white king. Also the threat of h5, h4 is quite intense here. Gukesh plays his queen to f3, and he would like to maybe trade on g2, But look at Arjun here. He's going all out. He's even ready that the pawn on d5 be sacrificed. Now important to take here with the c knight, because then your knight can come to f4 to kick the queen away. But instead he takes it with the e knight. And here the difference is that after h4, if you play knight f4, the f5 square is no longer controlled. So queen f5 is a very, very strong move here. Let's see if Arjun pushes his pawn forward after knight takes d5. Yes, he does. Brilliant move here by Arjun, trying to open up the position. Here he wants to open the h file up, and Gukesh has to tread very, very carefully now. He takes the knight on f6. And Arjun is thinking what to do next. He takes back. Clearly you couldn't take h g3 here because of queen g4 check and the queens would have been traded. So gf6 first. And Gukesh plays rook d1. Maybe a better move was queen g2, coming back and trying to trade queens. So after rook d1, the problem is that the h file now will open up. And Arjun has a great position here. So take on g3. H takes g3, taken here. And it still feels like the attack shouldn't go through because check, king f1, check, you trade queens and then the king comes up. But knight c4, beautiful move by Arjun, getting the knight into the game. And perhaps now at least you should trade the queen here, but the position, Arjun's not going to trade queens. Bishop f4 comes out. Now the bishop is active here. However, if Gukesh manages to find bishop h6, it would be huge because after takes, rook takes, you can triple down the h file. Arjun thinks for a bit, finds the move. Man, Arjun is in such good form suddenly. Like you might think he was in the most terrible form in first 11 rounds. But suddenly, in round 12 and 13, he's a changed man. He's a different man. Gukesh takes on h6. Gukesh has to realize that this position is slowly and steadily getting out of his grasp. One of the beautiful tactics in this position is, observe carefully guys, queen h2, king f1, knight d2 fork. When you take with the rook, I give a check, you trade, rook takes, king moves up, and I win your rook. This is actually a very, very important trick that exists in the position. Finally, Gukesh is like, I need to trade the queens. Of course, Arjun's not going to trade. There is no chance in the world that he trades queens here. Queen at h5 played. Fantastic move. The queen is looking at d1. He's going to triple here down the h file. Rook comes to b1. And you do notice that this b5 pawn, this just, pushing the pawn in the opening has its repercussions. The knight is beautifully perched on c4. The major pieces have tripled down the h file. And Arjun is super confident here. Gukesh, down to 11 minutes, plays rook b4, attacking the knight here. Now you can play knight a3, but there's also a chance to go back to d6. Maybe going back to d6 makes more sense. He goes knight a3. He is attacking the pawn on c2 here. But also the b5 pawn is hanging if the rook moves. Let's say rook a4, knight b5. You can't take because d1 is hanging. He goes b6. Gukesh trying to create as many problems as possible. If a b6, there is rook a4 attacking the knight and a8 check. So very nicely, Arjun takes it. C takes b6. If you push the pawn forward, there's this beautiful move, queen e5, attacking the knight and then preparing rook h1. So Gukesh goes rook a4. He doesn't push his d pawn down the board and he's attacking the knight. Arjun brings his knight back to b5. Fantastic move once again, because clearly you can't take the knight. d1 is hanging, so you need to maybe give rook c4 check. He plays rook d3. And if knight takes c3, he would like to play rook takes c3 check. How clear is this position? Well, he takes on c3. And now an important moment here. Gukesh takes on c3 back. And the important point here to note is that if king b8, then maybe g4, and later you have some queen g3 check ideas. It's important to go to d8. But how difficult it is to put your king in the center in such positions. It's not at all easy, but he finds it. Arjun finds another amazing move. What a move this is. And now the threat is queen d1 check with game over. He plays f3. Pushes his pawn to f3. And the queen moves to b5. Wow, what a move here. Attacking the rook, attacking here. Incredible how Arjun is using the entire chessboard to maneuver his pieces. Rook takes a7 played. And what's going to be the move? He goes rook h1. Beautiful. If you take on h1, I go queen b1 check and win your queen. Just like that. So king f2 played by Gukesh. And now rook h2, you pin the queen and it's game over, guys. Gukesh there